Hey, welcome guys. If you're new, we haven't met before, my name's Conrad, and I'm going to tell you a story about how I got into this carnivore diet. Well, we're going to save the story maybe for a little bit longer or a later, different time, but what I'd like to do is give you some information about why you should try it, or at least tell you why I tried it. I should say it like that. You can do whatever you want, no big deal, but I went down this whole rabbit hole. I owned yoga studios for a long time, like Bikram yoga studios. And we taught other, styles of yoga too, but primarily like hot yoga. And it was phenomenal. It kept me out of like back surgery in my 20s. I was diagnosed with a disc herniation, slip disc, and couldn't even walk. It was awful. And so it was either surgery in your 20s or yoga. Like, all right, let's give this yoga thing a try. And it helped me so much that I ended up opening studios. But my mom became a teacher, my dad became a teacher, I became a teacher, my brother, my sister. It was a whole family. Dude, we all drank the Kool-Aid. It was crazy. So yeah, we did that for a long time, moving directions since there. But anyway, I adopted kind of like a vegan diet style, for a long time, because that's what everybody does in yoga. Everyone's into the plants and what have you. And one of my good friends, Mike Coswell, dude, my homie, he's like, "What have you been doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm like vegetarian now. I don't even drink milk." And he's like, "You look terrible, dude. You look awful." And I was like, "Oh, damn." So that kind of always stuck in my mind, dude. You get good friends they tell you the truth. And I always appreciate that. I started, I ended up kind of feeling better, and I was like going kite surfing up in the North Shore of Oahu with another friend, dude, kite buddy, and he took me up there. I was somewhere I shouldn't have been. Kite went down. Kite filled up with a big wave on the North Shore. Dude yanked me, pulled me, and I ended up getting massively injured. You're harnessed in. I couldn't figure out my equipment. I couldn't release it. I couldn't eject properly. So that thing yanked me a couple times. I almost lost a limb too. Actually, the ropes like tied around my ankle. I almost lost a foot. If I didn't get out of that like quickly enough, like it probably would have severed it. It was gnarly. Like the force of the ocean and the wind. It's very humbling nature in itself. I feel like I was very suspect to this injury because of the diet that I had that I was adopting, and then after years, kind of like year and a half went by, it got worse and worse and worse to the point where I couldn't even walk. I couldn't leave my condo, and I ended up switching things up, or just researching constantly, and I stumbled across this girl, Michaela Peterson, right, Jordan Peterson's daughter, and she went through the story about how she had a hip replacement when she was, I believe, 13, if I got that correct, and ended up changing, like finally figured out how to adopt this carnivore diet. And I'm looking at her now, she's probably like 30 years old or something. She was great, phenomenal. I think she's a mom too. Like it was amazing to see, how articulate she was, like going through all this stuff. And I was like, I got to give this a try, because this other stuff just ain't working. And I'll also develop some crazy skin issues, like insane cysts, and I'm convinced that was from the kale. I was having all these kale shakes. I would mix raw kale, blend it up with like frozen bananas and cinnamon. I was like, oh, it tastes great. It's making people drink these green smoothies. I drink them all the time. I developed the craziest skin issues, and so I'm like started researching it more because I couldn't leave. And there's cholates, oxalates, basically poisons, right? I mean, if you think about it, right, everything in nature, you gotta go back to the primitive, like just go back to nature. It tells you all the answers you need. Animals, they got claws, they got teeth, right? They can run, they got legs. Plants, the only way they can defend themselves is with poisons and toxins, right? So that's the only way that their species does not get eradicated, because they got all these poisons. And different animals have adopted enzymes in their stomach and to digest these things. It's a very intricate system, right? And we're just a cog in the wheel. And the problem is we think we can change everything and control it. But if you really step back and look like how the design is for all this stuff, designer, the architects, right, in the Matrix, like who designed it? The designer, how did they create this whole thing, right? And so as you look at it, like they've got these poisons, we're not adapted to it, right? You can go up the food chain, the plants eat the sun, right? Photosynthesis. Animals eat the plants because they've got like radically different digestive systems. And then we eat the animals. And then if it's a pure, form, like the nutrients trickle up to us. We're, you know, highest in the food chain, at least at this point in time. So that's kind of how we get our nutrients. So I started thinking about that more. I was like, yeah, I need to get on this carnivore diet. So anyway, plants got tons of toxins. They got massive amounts of poisons to keep them safe, so they can thrive, right? They can keep growing. They can keep doing their thing, and yeah, and to meet the animals. That's kind of how it went. So after I changed my diet, everything changed. My body started changing. Actually, well, I did this. I still had to have a hip replacement, you know, and I got a whole nother story about the medical community. It was awful. Like, I'm still, and you know, I got stuck with a $45,000 bill, you know, and they approved me for the surgery. That's another story. But so I changed diets, you know, and you know, before I had this hip replacement, and then I ended up having the hip replacement, and then went in a year later. Still, I've been on it ever since, right? Ever since I had the surgery, before I had the surgery, and the doctor's like, "Hey, you look great, man." We took X-rays, like the bones mended to the prosthetic correctly, right? I got titanium in there, you know. I think like a ceramic or porcelain or whatever that is, titanium, porcelain, and then polyurethane, poly 2. It was a construction project, and but anyway, they take X-rays and they're like, "Dude, everything looks great. You look super healthy." I started gaining weight, man. I was like 170, 175, you know, close to 180, but it didn't even look that good. I was like skinny yoga, you know, all this stuff, man. I feel stronger than ever. So I'm just a huge proponent of this, and it makes life super easy too. It's a breeze, and I want to share with you guys just what I did, some of the tips and tricks going on it, and I put together a little video. I want you to watch it, you know, and just keep open-minded, right? If you got very strong feelings about something, that you don't want to eat animals, I totally get it. Like, you know, you can eat cheeses, you can have butter and stuff like that. I helped somebody in Sandy, Utah, and she like went to a slaughterhouse when she was young, and she's like, "I'm never gonna eat an animal." I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, here's another way to like at least get more healthy, right? Eating some milk products," and she was cool with that. So that's the gist of it, you guys. Anyway, check out this video. Hope you enjoy it. Check me out on social media or whatever, and yeah, I hope y'all having a great day. I'm here with my buddy Corey, and he's like, "Dude, so he's like, you got meat?" He's like, "I want to start doing this carnivore thing." And his first question was, "Can I eat fish?" Right? And no problem. I mean, actually I said, yes, that's great. You can, anyone, fish is totally on the table. Carnivore diet includes anything that comes from an animal. So that's why milk products are okay. Milk products are great. Some people don't tolerate milk, so you know, if you have trouble with that in the past, you can table that. You don't have to do the milk stuff, but anything that comes from an animal. So you got definitely meats, you got beef, chicken, you got, he's asking about fish. I mean, there's some reasons why I kind of like limit it to the red meat in particular, but these other ones are definitely experiment with them. You know, lots of salt, and the fattier fishes are even better too. So like salmon, large fishes like fish, I should say, have prone to more mercury and plastics, like microplastics. So the smaller fish I think are a little bit better from what I've heard, you know, in that regard. But dude, I love myself some ahi out here. If you're talking about raw meats out in Hawaii, dude, ahi on top of some rice, right? Look out. Like, it's hard to not have that rice with it. And so, and that brings me to the next little point. Someone's gonna ask, well, can I eat rice? Well, you know, if you want to cheat, if you want some carbs, man, if you just got a little bowl of, you know, ahi, you got a bowl of fish, and you got some rice, and you're really hungry, like, eat the rice. So what, you know? But if you want to get strict with it, and you want to just, if you got like tons of, you know, the right stuff, then you go ahead and you eat that. You know, you got a big fish to yourself, kind of go for it. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And you'll see what this does is when you start incorporating more of the fatty meats, you're satiated. So the biggest problem, the biggest thing I want you to remember when you switch over to this diet, you got to eat enough. That's super important. You've got to eat enough until you're satiated, until you're full, like even more than, it's way more than you think. Like, you don't sit there and have a burger or 2 burgers. You eat like 5 burgers, right? With cheese and like, you know, a giant hunk of meat, multiple ribeye steaks. Like, you have to eat way more than you think because your body digests this food so well. It's amazing. And that's the big thing is you never get the full, like, you know, pasta feeling, or just if you ate a bowl of rice, like, you're not going to feel like that where it's uncomfortable and you'd feel kind of bloated, because when it's just meat, your body digests it so quick and so well.
And there's some other things I'll go through to help you realize too about how much gets digested in the stomach and how quickly it happens, which is awesome. So yeah, all that's on the table, right? So my buddy Corey was asking about portions. We kind of answered that, just making sure you get enough. And then you got grass-fed versus regular, grain-fed, animals. And of course, if you can get grass-fed, those meats are usually going to be a lot better. You got antibiotic. There's lots of different labeling type stuff. So the more you can stay away from, the antibiotics than the grains, the better. So if you're looking for more high quality stuff, you can go for the grass-fed. The little thing you might not like, sometimes it doesn't taste better though. Some of the grain stuff tastes pretty good, but you'll figure that out. And I think in the beginning you just find what you can, because people get a little hung up on some of the meat prices going on too. And there's cheaper ways to go about it. Ground beef is a great way to get started, and you can get that for just a couple bucks a pound. And make sure you got the 80-20, where it's 20% lean, 80% lean, however they do that labeling. But you want the more fatty stuff. You don't want the real super lean, which is a 90%. You want the 80%, 80-20. So you have that, a bunch of that, tons of eggs, right? Eggs are definitely on the carnivore diet. So eggs, 8 yolks. Those are great things to put in there. You can, yeah, a lot of people still drink coffee, and they'll mix in like heavy creams and butter if you do the bulletproof diet. So that's part of that whole deal. Yeah, so those are just some simple hacks with it. And then going to the grocery store at the right times of the day. Tuesdays and Wednesdays of the week, they'll do like manager specials, take 30% off. So there's usually some kind of day where they're going to start doing that. All right, excellent question, Corey. He said, how many times a day you got to eat? Well, the best answer is you're going to eat until you're full. And what I like to do is I like to fast in the morning time. So I'll wake up around 5 and 5:30, and I'll start drinking. I used to drink coffee. Right now I'm trying to wean off coffee, but I'll drink my morning beverage, right? You drink coffee, try and do it black if you can. If you get real hungry right away, you can add some, heavy creams in there. And then that's going to get you, fuller longer. So that kind of breaks your fast when you do something like that. But fast a little bit in the morning time, and then you have a nice big breakfast about 9 or 10. Eggs, bacon, some burgers, some steaks, whatever you got. Have a nice big meal, and drink lots of water. And then you can use lots of salt, right? Get yourself a good Himalayan sea salt, or Celtic salt, or the one I do is a real salt from Salt Lake in Utah. So that's called real salt. Anyway, so salt, and then I try not to use too many other condiments. I'll do some hot sauce. I like myself some sriracha, so that's always good. And that's a fermented one, which kind of eliminates more of the poisons and toxins. Whenever you see fermented foods, when it goes through that process, it kind of eliminates some more poison. So those are good to put in there. But you want to stay away from a lot of sweet sauces, different kind of teriyakis, or just a bunch of different things. Look in the back, you'll see a list of ingredients. And a lot of it's soy. It's got weird oils in there. It's got a bunch of sweet stuff and sugars. So that's why I just use the salt. And I'll eat like maybe twice a day. I'll have a big meal in the morning time, and if it's big enough, I'll be able to go most of the day. And about 3 or 4, 3, 4, maybe 5 o'clock, I'll eat another big meal. And yeah, that's an ideal world. That's all I got. I eat twice a day, and load up on the as much of the meat products as possible. And if I'm going to cheat at night just for something to drink, I'll do like a cacao, just that 100% cacao chocolate, some water, and you could put butter in there, or like a heavy cream or milk, something like that. So yeah, try to get twice a day. And if you want to start cutting weight, you can get down to once a day. If you can do one meal, have one big one, and then the longer you have in between insulin spikes is when you can start really healing your body. So if you're going through some chronic problems, inflammation, if you're going through some issues, like heart issues, you're going through stomach things, you could just start fasting. So you kind of like lengthen the time to where your body's got to release insulin. Something that comes up, people are asking about, well, I heard that John Wayne died and he had like 3 steaks left in his stomach when they opened him up or whatever. I don't know, I've heard like different stories like that, but it's actually quite the opposite. Like, you get so regular, your digestion gets super regular, your elimination process gets regular. Dude, you just poop logs. That's it. You poop logs, you do it once a day, and that's it. The opposite is like, we've ever heard of leaky gut syndrome. That's when people don't have the right digestion, or they're putting too much gluten, and it's like messing with the interior walls of the stomach, and it's passing through and it shouldn't. And then as a result, you kind of have people get real gassy. And I was just talking, that's more of a sign that your body can't digest something that you got there. So that's why people get gas. And so when you switch over to a carnivore diet, it's insane, because you don't have any gas. For the most part, like, you're just good. You're good to go. And I think if you eat enough protein and fat with it, like, you need the pieces that have the fatty cuts on it. That's how you get satiated. And then, because if you don't eat enough, you're going to be looking for sweets, right? If you got a sweet tooth, you're going to be looking for those sweets afterwards. So that's why you got to make sure you eat enough, and then you burn off the glucose in the morning. That's why we do our morning walks first thing. If you can fast, gets rid of that, and you can kind of get off sugar and you won't crave it, after like a week or two, if you're pretty good about it. Salt, meat, and fat. But yeah, digestion's off the hook. This whole thing, you don't even get full, you just get satisfied. And yeah, that's been kind of the best part. But you gotta get the fat thing correct. That's like the first thing I teach people when I put them into this, is like how to eat enough fat. And the easy way to do is butter. You can use butter, you can put it in your coffee, whip it up with a blender, you get a latte, put butter on your steak, so that helps people get some more fat in their diet if they're worried about the animal fats.
And some of the things I learned through the past couple of years going through this, and everyone's a little bit different, so take everything with a grain of salt. I do urge you to experiment a little bit. And the key, what I learned with yoga, is to have a conversation with yourself, right? When you be able to sit in stillness for a long time, you start really thinking about your body, your joints, what's going on, the mood that you have, the emotions that come out. It really allowed me to, self-examine my well-being in lots of respects. So I was fortunate enough to be able to analyze myself using some of these yoga tools that I, just kind of learned along the lines. And then, so using those tools, I'm like, wow, I feel great. I feel happy. I feel like, I feel human. This is amazing. This is how it should be. And people don't even know what it is to feel good. You may not have ever realized what it is to feel good. And so when you start to realize it, wow, that's a whole nother ball game. All right, you guys, hit me up with any questions. I'm here for you. Aloha.